Nobody is paying attention. Nobody is looking at this chart. The Conflux chart valued in Ethereum. And why is it such an interesting chart? It's interesting because the trading volume is coming down, whereas the relative valuation to Ethereum of Conflux is staying elevated. And this is a pretty unique position in crypto. This does not happen too often. Usually what we see is high correlation between attention and price movements. When attention is high, price goes up. When attention is low, price goes down. Now I have made a dedicated video just on the fundamentals of Conflux, as in I have made a video that discusses the team, that discusses the technicals, right, the technical development of the Conflux blockchain. All of that is at the end of this video. So if you're just interested in the fundamentals, then feel free to skip to the end of this video. There's a link to that video. It's 15 minutes long. If you are interested in this relative valuation development now, then this is the video for you, because there is an opportunity opening up here, I think. What's interesting is that even though the trading volume here, right, we see this is coming down, even though this is coming down, the price doesn't come down. And this is unusual, especially for smaller coins. It's even unusual for bigger coins. So let's look at, for example, Dogecoin, right? Dogecoin is a pretty hyped coin. So look at this, right? Trading volume is shooting up. Price is shooting up. It's the exact same day, right? This is when Elon Musk changed the logo on Twitter. And then the logo gets changed back again. Trading volume comes down. The hype dies down. And the price also deflates. So the people that bought in here were just short-term speculators that were betting on this rally, right? And when the rally doesn't continue anymore, then everybody is selling off. Now we see this several times in Dogecoin, right? Over here, again, news. Then we see a rise, then the trading volume goes down, the price tends to deflate as well. So this is a pattern that's not just visible for Dogecoin, it's visible for many, many different altcoins. For Conflux though, it does also rise when there is news, obviously, right? There's more attention, there's people that buy in. But at the same time, now after this pump, when trading volume comes down, the price doesn't deflate as much. So this is now the big question, right? What will happen in the next week or two? Will it stay so elevated? Because a potential interpretation of this is when everybody buys in, when there is news, but when the news dies down, when the attention dies down, the price doesn't deflate. This could mean that the people that bought in don't just want to ride a short-term wave. The idea would be they bought in because they think now long-term Conflux could be a good investment. So they buy it in order to hold it for the long term. So that's solid, right? You want to have exactly those kinds of investors. You want to have the investors that create a floor that might potentially even dollar cost average into an asset. You want to be in those kinds of assets. You don't necessarily want to be long-term in an asset that's just short-term hype driven like Dogecoin. And so this is now the question, will this last? The problem right now, even though this is very attractive, right? You want to be buying when trading volume is low and you want to be selling when trading volume is high. Even though this is an interesting buy, it's hard to determine when to potentially exit. Because let's say you really just do this relative valuation trade and you're not just the long-term investor. If you do the relative valuation trade, where do you set your stop loss? Let's go maybe to the US dollar chart. Do you set your stop loss, say, at 14.5 cents or so, right? Then you've got a potential downside of 60%, 62%. Do you set your stop loss according to moving averages that worked relatively well, right? You could maybe, for example, take the 200-day. I think that's the lowest you can go in order to avoid failed signals. Let's say you take the 200-day, right? This was relatively well working in the past. This is bearish. Once we cross, we would be bullish. You've got even more of a downside. Then you've got a downside of roughly 70%. So the risk now that we haven't held this upper level for a while is relatively high. There is, of course, also upside potential. If, for example, we just go back to the initial price, that's around 200% or so, so 250. So there is upside potential, but the downside is simply too high, right? Holding now something that can potentially go down 50 to 70% is a problem. And the issue is that Conflux is very, very volatile. So if you say you want to sell earlier, right? You already want to sell, say, at 25 cents or so. You need to have some kind of a scenario, right, where you turn bearish again. If you say you sell at 25 cents, you might just get stopped out and then it recovers again. It's simply the volatility of Conflux is simply so high. Here, look at this. From top to bottom, this was just a short-term little blip, 56%. So that's the problem. I think it's good to simply just wait. Even though this could be a buying opportunity, the potential attention is very low. It's important to see that the price really stays elevated for longer. It's important to see these moving averages getting closer and then have a better mark on when to potentially exit if things don't turn out the way they should. So that's always, in general, my approach for trading any altcoin. Before entering anything, it makes sense to think about what could be the potential loss. When am I going to change my mind? When have I been wrong? Because you can't always be right? So what's my potential exit scenario? And you have to define this both for the downside, but also for the upside. So when am I okay to sell? This could be either like a fixed price, right? For example, this issuance price. It could alternatively also be simply when we cross the moving average. So let's say we are betting now on CFX staying sideways for a while and then having another few positive news. Then we could simply just sell again when the price crosses the moving average, right? And the moving average continues to rise like this. So make sure when getting into Conflux, if you're considering to trade this, if you don't just bet on the fundamentals, that you have plans for both exit and entry. And if you do, then yeah, feel free to go ahead. Important though, very important in this current market environment, altcoins in general are not outperforming Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin tends to now outperform most altcoins. Be very, very selective with the altcoins that you actually trade and only be in them relatively short term. Unless you really have a multi-year horizon and if you are okay to ride out those long-term crypto waves, then of course all bets are off. But if you are just interested in holding maybe 1 or 2 years, then maybe right now is not the best time to allocate to 10 different altcoins. Then it's better to just short-term trade. Now I have made a fundamental review on Conflux in the next video. So looking forward to seeing that video. In case you haven't watched this yet, it's over here. So thanks for watching this video and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.